Hey guys, let's talk about this really neat study in Health Affairs, and it's all about paid sick leave. Why does paid sick leave matter? Well, here's why it matters. So we've talked a lot about paid sick leave in the context of the pandemic, and it's been really important in the pandemic because a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and if they have a choice between going to work a little bit sick versus not putting food on the table, they will go to work a little bit sick. And what that has meant was that people with the virus have gone to work and they've unfortunately exposed their coworkers and allowed the virus to continue to spread. And that's been an issue, whether it's SARS-CoV-2 with COVID-19 pandemic, or now it's a concern, for example, with monkeypox. So in the context of an infectious disease like this, there's a lot of good reasons for people who are sick, who are unwell, to be able to stay home. Now, these authors actually thought that there might be other benefits, and they postulated that if people who are sick are allowed to stay home with paid sick leave programs, we might actually see a drop in emergency room visits. And there's a couple of reasons this might happen. One is that if you're sick and you have to go to work, you can't see a doctor during work hours, so the only doctor you can see might be the emergency room doc after hours. And in fact, we know that a good 15% or so of emergency room visits are for minor ailments that could have been managed in primary care had the person had access. The other thing that might be happening is that people have to work, so they're not seeing a doctor, and they allow problems to progress and get worse. And it might just be that things are getting bad enough that they then need an emergency room visit because they've allowed it to become severe. So there, it becomes really important to give people access to that early care to prevent things from becoming worse where they actually need emergency care. So what these authors did is they looked at 7 states in the U.S. that actually do have mandatory paid sick leave programs, and they compared them to 24 states that don't have it. And what they found was that after those paid sick leave programs came into play, there was a 5.6% drop in emergency room visits. And when you extrapolate that across the whole country, if the whole country had paid sick leave, that amounted to over 5 million emerge visits per year being saved, and over $2 billion in healthcare costs related to that urgent care per year that was avoided. And the reason I think this is important to talk about is that a lot of people oppose paid sick leave because they're fiscally conservative. They feel like it's too much of a cost for governments to pay. In a system like ours in Canada, where the government would potentially pay for paid sick leave, the government also pays for healthcare. So here's an argument to say, well, you may be paying for paid sick leave, but you're going to save a lot of cost on emergency room care, and you'll have better outcomes for your patients, and it's the right thing to do to empower people to stay home when they're sick. So I sure hope our leadership takes a look at studies like this, and that eventually we end up with paid sick leave in every province in Canada and every state in the U.S.